My best friend mysteriously passed away when I was in college, and it was shocking, devastating, confusing, to the point where it just weighed on my mind for 20 years until finally I go, you know what? I'm taking matters in my own hands, and I'm going to try and investigate what happened to her.
Doesn't exactly seem like the setup to a comedy show, does it?
I would not want to laugh. If we did a story like that and we laughed on the air, I think we might get canceled.
Okay, so I'm so
Deservedly
glad you said that, because you're going to see that exact question come up
good.
in just a little bit. But that is the basis for My Friend Katy, okay? It is a stand-up comedy show, but even Jamie Lee, the creator and the brains behind this, comedian, writer, and actress Jamie Lee, says it's more of a show. It's like a one-woman show.
Right.
But she is bringing the acclaimed stand-up tour to D.C. next week. First, though, earlier today, I got a chance to actually talk to her all about that and the return of Ted Lasso, because she just so happens to be a writer and producer on that hit.
Fabulous.
Emmy Award-winning comedian, writer, and actress Jamie Lee joining us on the Live Zone Primetime. Thanks so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So, true crime and comedy, two things that people love, including my co-host, Tony P., who couldn't be with us right now, but not necessarily things that people necessarily imagine going hand in hand. Why does this work so well? How did this come about? Talk to us a little bit about My Friend Katy, if you don't mind.
Right. So I think the reason that it works is because this actually is just a very true personal story. My show is about my best friend who mysteriously and suddenly passed away when I was in college. And it's about me 20 years later going back and trying to find out what happened to her. But I'm not an FBI agent. Spoiler alert, I'm a comedian. So it's really, a lot of the comedy is coming from the fact that I don't really know what I'm doing. I've never investigated anything in my life, but I have been a fan of true crime. And I have jokes in my show about like how I have sort of deemed myself qualified, even though I'm definitely not.
Do the audiences kind of need permission to laugh? Do you kind of like set them up or like give them like the grace? I mean, I imagine because it's such a serious topic at the same time that they might like hold back a little bit.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a challenge when I was first writing the show. But I think because I sort of acknowledged that it's a tough subject matter and that this is a personal story, I really kind of acknowledged that right up top. So everybody is pretty at ease once we get going.
Okay. Can you talk to us a little bit about how this kind of idea came about, how this show came about, and why now seems like the right time to bring it to the stage and to the public?
Yeah, so the show came about very organically. It did not start out as an hour-long theater show. It started as just kind of a project I was doing for myself, for my own catharsis. When my dad passed away in 2021, I had this sort of moment where I was like, wait, I know how my dad died, but the last funeral I went to was Katy's, and I don't know how she died. And it's sort of this mystery that's been looming over me for the past 20 years since I was in college. And so it really just started as sort of like an exploration, trying to get back in touch with people who knew Katy. And then it kind of spiraled out from there. And because I am a comedian, my brain naturally goes to a place of like comedy and narrative. And so I started to be like, oh, this actually does kind of have like the arc of a journey because I am, looking for answers. So it sort of morphed into a thing where I started, really like poking fun at myself, like what an unhinged thing to do, to go off and try to conquer something like this on my own when I'm just not qualified to do so.
What was the response from people around you when you started on this journey and you started investigating this, but also kind of developing it into this new stand-up act?
I've been very blessed. Everyone has been super supportive, and a lot of people that I spoke to along the way were like, thank you for getting in touch with me, because I've also been wondering about Katy all these years, and it's so nice to be able to talk about it, because when she passed away, it did feel sort of like we were supposed to minimize talking about it, don't ask too many questions, was kind of the vibe in the air. And so I think a lot of people they had been carrying around a lot of the similar questions that I had. And then turning it into a show, I think that the show surprises a lot of people when they see it. They see that this is not like some exploitative true crime documentary. If anything, I'm very self-aware about it not being that. And I also am a fan of the genre of true crime. So I have a lot of mixed feelings about how like it can do a lot of harm. It can also do a lot of good because it brings awareness to stories that are otherwise forgotten. So yeah, it's kind of about all of that. But at its core, it really is about like this person who I wish was still here.
Without giving too much away, what did you learn, not just over the course of this investigation, not only about Katy, not only about her death, but also about yourself?
Well, I would say the biggest surprise that I came across was how I would think, okay, I just want to find out this one thing. Like, if I could just get the answer to this one thing, like, let's say how she died, like, actually medically, how did she die? Like, get an autopsy report, find out the information. I think once I have that, then I'll have closure, But what's interesting is that once you have a piece of information, it just ends up leading to more questions. So I actually did find out how Katy died. And a lot of people are like, well, that's probably the end of the show. And it's very much not the end of the show. If anything, it really launched me into even more of an investigation and a search for answers.
So what has the response from audiences been? You've talked a little bit already about the response from the people around you. What has the response from audiences been like?
I mean, it's been so great. Like, it's honestly the most satisfying. I've done a lot of cool things in my career. I write for Ted Lasso. I feel very lucky. I'm like part of a great piece of art that people get to make. And I will say, like, there's something so satisfying about doing this show because it combines everything that I love. It's like a mystery, but also there are hard jokes throughout. And it's a way to tell a story, but with some levity, as opposed to just, sort of being this like weight that everyone has to carry. I think it gives people permission to laugh at stuff that they probably have wanted to laugh at, but never had a space to do that.
What do you think Katy would think of the show?
She would love it. That was like a really big barometer for me because, again, it's a tricky subject matter and it involves other people. And I was very set on like, this has to be about me because I can't tell somebody else's story. But I can rest well at night knowing that Katy was a huge fan of comedy, a huge fan of art, and true crime. So I think she would really love this show. And that was like a big deal to me to make sure that like, is this still something Katy would be proud of? Like, as I'm writing the show, like checking in with myself, would she be cool with this? Would she be cool with this? Like, I think about that a lot.
You mentioned that this was slightly cathartic in a certain way. Do you think, we've all probably heard the phrase that laughter is the best medicine. When it comes to grief, do you think laughter is also sort of a cure for that, or can at least ease it a little bit?
Definitely. For sure. And I think that like in our culture, there's kind of this thing of like death and grief is supposed to be like put on this pedestal that exists completely separate of everything else. And I think there's something really not human about that because death is a part of life. And I think it's something everybody experiences and it's something that should unite us all. And we should just be talking about it all the time because it's literally constantly around us. But instead we're like, no, don't look over there. That's unpleasant. It's too much. And I think you can have reverence for something and somebody and also make jokes. I think that the two can coexist, and I think it's cool when they do.
The first thing I thought of when I saw this story was my mind instantly flashed back, and you may have seen this as well, but Conan O'Brien and Will Arnett sharing the story of Jason Bateman and Conan's parents passing and the text chain that they had and just how hard they were all laughing in such a dark time in a serious situation and kind of how Conan handled that. And so that's instantly what I thought of when you just shared that story. So thank you very much. And I agree with you.
And I loved the way they spoke about it. And I really do think it gave people permission to laugh at their own pain. I think that's the biggest, like, that is a true gift you can give someone, is being like, listen, like, I'm doing it. It's okay if you do it. We're all in it together.
So you mentioned true crime, being a fan of the genre while also having some mixed feelings about it. Do you have any personal favorites, any ones that you're currently watching, any ones that you recommend, any ones that you hate to love?
Well, I mean, I would say my very favorite is the OG Staircase, which I think was in like 2008 is when they started making that documentary, and now it's all on Netflix, I believe. And then they made a narrative series based on the documentary that's on HBO. That case and that crime, there's just the whole thing. The way that it unfolds over the course of the documentary is just unbelievable. It was like truly unbelievable filmmaking.
Do you ever see a sort of situation where you could imagine taking this show from the stage to the screen in any way?
Yes, I would love to. Well, we also have a bunch of doc footage. And if you come see the show, you'll hear pieces of interviews that I did with people along the way. So I have a lot of documentary footage, and the goal is to sort of weave the stage show and the doc footage together and make one sort of piece. To call it a stand-up special feels kind of, I guess that is what it is, but like, because of the subject matter, I'm like, it exists as I just call it a show. I think it's a show that hopefully people will be able to watch on TV.
Well, you're part of another show as well, and you did mention it, Ted Lasso, a new season on the way, season 4. A lot of people very much looking forward to that. That series is kind of known for its optimism. It's known for its heart, but it also does juggle some really heavy topics, whether it's Ted's anxiety, his depression, his father's suicide. Did working on that show sort of open your eyes to how these two subject matters can go hand in hand? And was that sort of a natural evolution to what you're working on now?
Yeah, I mean, I've learned so much just through writing for television and specifically writing for Ted Lasso. I think it has trained my brain to always like look for the story, look for the narrative. And also, yeah, like you said, like I'm able to let comedy and darkness coexist and they don't cancel each other out. They, if anything, complement each other. So yeah, all of that has impacted the way I write anything now, because I've been on Ted Lasso for 7 years. So yeah, I mean, that formula is so successful. And I think it's also it is a little chicken or the egg. It's probably also the reason that like I was hired to work on Ted Lasso's, because that is kind of like who I am. I'm like a pretty light and bright, bubbly person with like a undercurrent of darkness. So I think that I also am like a good fit for that type of storytelling.
So how did you originally get involved with the production, and what was your response when the idea came about to bring it back for a 4th season? Did you think it was over for good? Did you always kind of hold out hope that you would revisit this world?
Definitely was excited to revisit the world. Wasn't really sure. I don't think I had a sort of like, there was no feeling of like, it's done, but it wasn't a feeling of like, it's coming back. Like I was somewhere in the middle where I was just like, we'll see what Jason wants to do.
Okay. So anything you can kind of tell us about the upcoming season and what to expect?
Yes. Well, it is a girls team, a women's team. And so that was really cool to sort of assemble like a new cast of characters, building them into the world that we've already built. Was just really, really cool and a really intricate casting process. And I think people are going to really love our new people in addition to our, original favorites.
Well, I mean, I'm super psyched because I've been a huge Ted Lasso fan for so long, going back to the original character in those NBC sports clips. Speaking of sports, obviously the show exists in the world of soccer. It's kind of tangential. It's not the main subject matter, but we're Fox 5. We're here in Washington, D.C. We are getting ready for the World Cup. Do you think your show helped kind of introduce a whole new crop of fans to the sport? And coming on the heels of the World Cup, do you think there's going to be a ton of buzz and excitement about this show?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I definitely think it brought awareness. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I will say it brought awareness to myself. I definitely, when I was hired to work on the show, I was very, very transparent about like, oh, like I don't really know the world of football at all. I like won't really be helpful to you guys in that way. And they were like, don't worry, like we have people on staff who are fans of the sport and know the sport in an authentic way. But yeah, now I'm like hooked. I love going to games. Yeah, I love it. I love watching football. It's so fun.
So I know Brett Goldstein was a writer on the show and then kind of transitioned into a starring role as well. Is that the sort of thing you ever thought maybe could be in your future too?
Yeah, I would love that. And also, yeah, I was on this show Crashing where I was a writer and then I became an actor on it. And that was just like a very like cool thing to be able to be in front of the camera, but behind the scenes as well. Yeah, I think I've always had that instinct of like, I really love performing. I really love writing. And the opportunity to do both is like, that is fully the dream. That is definitely what I want to be doing.
And on that note, obviously.
Oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, because I was thinking about like when I started or like my first meeting to write on Ted Lasso, the reason I got called into the meeting was because Bill Lawrence knew me from an audition. I had met him auditioning for his show. And then he saw me on Crashing as an actor. And then he ended up reading a writing sample of mine. And then I was brought in for the meeting for Ted Lasso. So it was actually through acting that I got the writing job.
There you go. And I mean, Bill Lawrence, between Rooster, I saw your pictures on Instagram from the premiere of that as well. And then he's got Shrinking. So, you know, he's basically on top of the world right now as well. You know, you kind of mentioned the writing and the acting and the comedy. You know, you're juggling a lot between the tour, television, writing. What is your sort of favorite and what do you think, you know, fans get to experience the most from you in the coming months? What are they most looking forward to? And what are you most looking forward to?
Well, having my own show has been just such an empowering feeling because it really is something that I built from scratch. So I think that that'll also be leading to more like acting and performance opportunities as well. And yeah, there's just something about stand up and telling jokes and like being vulnerable on stage. It really fills my cup. Do people still say that? Well,
Absolutely.
Anyways, cup is filled.
Okay, I love that. So you're going to be here in D.C. next week, June 11th, Union Stage. What is D.C. sort of a unique vibe when you come here to do comedy? We talk to a lot of comedians, and we're always curious how they feel about performing here in the nation's capital.
So DC is like my top 3 favorite places to do comedy. I love it. The audiences are so smart, so supportive. It's so fun. It's like smart fun. And that's like just a great vibe. I feel like you have really, really good comedy fans in DC.
Do you plan on sticking around for like the UFC fight or any of the America 250, Freedom 250 events going on here in the nation's capital?
God, I didn't even know those were happening, but that sounds very, very fun. I have to go to Boston and do the show in Boston right after, so I probably won't.
Okay,
stay.
understood.
But the other times I've been there, I try to stay in DC as long as I can.
Well, the invitation always stands. You're always welcome here. DC is sort of one of those towns that, you know, from the outside, it doesn't seem funny. Obviously, politics is, you know, sort of like the #1 industry you think of here. But then you think of people like Dave Chappelle and John Mulaney and Mike Birbiglia and Nick Kroll and
Jacqueline Novak.
You know, yeah, exactly. And Wanda Sykes. And we talked to Patton Oswalt recently, and he told us that one of his first stand-up shows was here. So some of the funniest people in the world have come out of Washington, and it always just fascinates me.
Yeah. And Winston Hodges, he's wonderful, and he was just on
Kevin Hart's Funny AF. We talked to him as well.
Show on Net. Yeah, I love Winston. He's so funny.
All right. So if people want to follow you for more, if they want to get tickets to see my friend Katy, how can they do it?
You can go to my Instagram, which is @ReallyJamieLee. And there are ticket links right there for every single show that I have in June, including Washington.
All right, Jamie Lee, thanks so much for spending some time with us here on the Live Zone Prime Time.
Having me.
Of course. All right, so just a reminder, you can check out my friend Katy. You can check out Jamie Lee's Instagram page for ticket information and more. Tony P, all right.
That
we're
was
taking
really
you
cool.
back up